Every moment of your life, you are making a choice. It's not always conscious. It's not always obvious. But beneath every thought, every action, every reaction, there are only two options: love or fear. This choice defines how you see yourself, how you see others, how you live, and ultimately, who you become. Most of us don't even realize we are choosing. But the truth is, we are choosing all the time. I want you to think about the last difficult decision that you made. Doesn't matter how big or small. Just make it something juicy, something that was tough, something you had to stew on and chew up a little bit. And actually picture that in your mind. The decision that you made, what it was about, the back and forth that was going on in your mind, in your heart maybe, and even drop down in your body a little bit. Now, I want you to think specifically of the circumstance, what you were deciding over. Picture that, and see where your head and your heart and your body, see what's going on there, and go back and forth. If you chose this or if you chose that, what's going on? Head, heart, body. Now, I want you to envision the decision that you actually made. No matter which way it was, however it panned out, just think about the decision that you made. Same thing. In the head, drop into the body, the chest, heart. Is there any kind of feeling there? When you dropped into the body, did it feel as though you were opening up, or maybe things were closing in a little bit? Did you feel some tightness in the chest, maybe even in the jaw, or openness? Did you feel very open, very flowing? When you were picturing the decision that you made, think about what you did in your life. Were you making movement towards something? Or were you taking steps back for one reason or another, and you're kind of retracting from a situation or a person? The majority of the decisions that we make in life ultimately, almost always, come back to one of two states of being. And notice I didn't say emotions, states of being: fear or love. I'm sure you probably guessed that in the body, when we're making a decision that's ultimately based on fear, you're going to feel contraction, a stiffness, a closing in. Versus when you make a decision that is ultimately based on love, you feel more open, relaxed. The air, the energy is freely moving. And that's taking you toward something, some type of desire that you're wanting. Now think back about the decision overall. This thing that you chewed over, what were you thinking about? What were you looking at? What different options were you considering? What decision did you ultimately make, and how did that pan out in your life? Is love or fear a part of either one of those decisions? Is it the base? I'm willing to bet that it's somewhere in there. Because when we trace anything back, we're ultimately going to be looking at the state of being: fear or love. Now, we want to be clear about what we're talking about here, because these words get thrown around a lot, right? And so when we're discussing this, we're not talking about your basic, I'm afraid of snakes and spiders, or I love jazz music and Italian gelato. I mean, those things fit in to the idea and the unfolding somewhere. But no, we're talking about the state of who you are and how you are and what's going on in the mind-body system. And think about how that has played out in your life. And you're probably going to come across the fact that many of your life decisions were actually based on fear, not love. And if that's the case for you, don't fret, because you're in great company with literally almost the entirety of humanity. And that's just it, Fear is a subtle sucker. It will sneak in. It will be smooth and sly. And then it will show up as the quiet kind, not always the dramatic kind. It's the little voice that says, make the responsible decision. Ooh, are you being realistic here? Let's look at everything, and what is the most realistic? Because you have to do that. And that's because fear, it rarely shows up announcing itself. No, instead, it shows up dressed as the thing that you're used to. It's so commonplace. It shows up as practicality. Staying in the job you know you've outgrown because leaving just feels too risky. And maybe there's a 25% pay cut, and that's weighing on you heavily than all of the wonderful things you would be leaning into if you just took a chance and said yes. It shows up as independence, refusing to ask for help because needing someone else feels dangerous. It feels too much of a risk. In your mind, you're saying, I can't really depend on anyone other than myself if I want things done right. And so, yeah, it shows up as perfectionism, taking the responsibility all to yourself when you know you could test these things out, redoing the same thing for the 10th time because finishing means it might be judged. And if I'm leaving judgment up to other people, I have to have 100% control on whatever this is. It can show up as keeping the peace, staying quiet about some issue, what you actually want in regards to that issue, because conflict with other people, it's too big of a threat. You don't do conflict with others, and this would just cost too much. So, I do what I do, which is chill everyone out and just keep the peace. Of course, none of these things are inherently bad on their own. I mean, being independent, doing things for yourself, keeping the peace among friends or coworkers, standing in and standing up, having a sense of duty, a sense of integrity. You want things to be as good as they can possibly be. I mean, these are all inherently good traits and good assets that would, bode well for you in work and jobs, at home, relationships. But that's just it. It's not about what you were doing. It's about what the driving force underneath the decision is and where it's coming from. In making that decision, are you contracting, going within, tightening up, moving away from something? Or are you loose? Are you expanding, growing? Something fruitful is coming and will multiply. That's exactly where things get difficult, right? Fear, love, making these decisions, thinking about what the ultimate driving force is. You might be thinking to yourself right now, how do we ultimately decide if it's fear or love? Can't there be a mixture of the two? Can't each one of them show up in similar ways? How do we dissect and discern what is actually fear and what is actually love? And you, of course, would be totally correct. Let's say you've been in a romantic relationship for a couple of years, and you've been going back and forth on, do I stay or do I go? And you're having a tough time really getting to what's the heart of it. Because staying out of a fear and a dread of being single and being alone, on the surface can look very much like I'm staying because I like this person and this and this are really good, so I'm going to choose to stay with them. On the surface, it can look pretty similar, but underneath, there's a definite driving force. Or let's say you've got a project at work that you've been just going at it, pulling all-nighters, working very hard on. Now, what's driving your decision to do well? Is it because you love the project and your team and the company and you just want to do great things with this? Or is it a fear of failure? A fear of looking stupid, or insert any negative quality, looking this or that in front of my coworkers and colleagues, and, maybe even ultimately not getting a promotion or not being thought of as the best. These fears can be widespread and they can vary, of course. And sometimes it is very difficult to discern. That's why I do this little system I do it with my clients now, but I do it with them because I spent years doing it for myself because I had trouble discerning, okay, which is which here? What is my state of being with this decision? And what I would do, and what I do for them, is we look at the situation itself and then go back to the first and immediate decision that you made. Now, some people will say, oh, go with your gut, that's the right thing. And oftentimes it is. There's truth to that. But if you're really going back and forth and you're really having that trouble of discernment on where am I ultimately coming from, ask what was before that immediate decision. Why? And then look at that and ask, okay, well, what led to that? What was the thing before that? And what was the thing before that? And then trace it back all the way until you cannot in your mind get any further back, you just kind of hit the wall of the origin of this state of being. And I'm betting 9 times out of 10, you will be able to look up against that wall and determine, am I ultimately coming at this because I'm afraid of something, or insert another negative quality that goes with fear, or am I coming at it with love, and insert whatever positive traits go along with love. It's one of the two, ultimately, and even when it is both, there's going to be a majority, one or the other, almost every time. Okay, so what if my mind is not working? What if my mind is just not getting me there to a place of certainty about the origin? Well, great question. You now have the map of the emotional route that you took, your state of being, and the decisions and the unfurling of your mental emotional state and making that ultimate decision. So we are a mind-body system. If the mind isn't getting you to where you need to go, do what we did earlier. Drop into the body. Close your eyes, breathe, drop into your body, and then go through that system again, the back system all the way to the origin. And each time, see how your body feels. Check on your heart rate, your pulse. Notice contractions and expansions within your muscle, your stomach, or if there's another place in your body that, where you know that you have a felt sense about things. And see what your body tells you. Because regardless of your mind and the cloudiness that we put into it as we're trying to unravel these mysteries, your body, coming from that subconscious, it's going to have a certain reaction to it. Now, in case you're wondering, what in the world does this have to do with duality and who I really am and what is actually going on? Don't worry. We will be coming back to this dualistic choice of fear and love probably in every episode from here on. And I promise you, as things begin to unfold and become a little more clear, you will understand just how significant and how powerful the knowledge of this decision and the choices that we make in life, how big of a role it plays and how large of a tool this just in and of itself is in your arsenal. I have clients, they will, even from years ago, they'll be texting or we'll be talking or something all the time, and they'll tell me, oh, man, the fear and love dichotomy, what it has done for my decision making and the stress that it has cut out, and how often I am actually making better choices in my life and how I feel about those choices. I just feel so much more at home in who I am, and I feel confident that I can make decisions where before these things really used to crush me. I can vouch for it, and many, many, many others can as well. It's a powerful tool, and it's a great dichotomy to keep in your mind to think about, and also to think about when others are deciding things, or if you're in a partnership or even a friendship and you have to make decisions and choices together, bringing this to the table. It'll make sense the further that we go. And, it's going to start making even more sense in the very next episode, because we're going to get to that part of you that might be responsible for some of that conflict. I'll see you over there.